Hey guys, welcome to the Three Pointless Wars and French and Indian War. You can read about this in your Story of the World, pages 199 to 202. Alright, so here are the three wars. We're going to talk about the first one, the King's William War, began in 1688. And back in Europe, King Louis of France was trying to grab power, and so the English decided to get their settlers back in America to get their Iroquois friends to attack the French settlers. That didn't work out too well. Queen Anne's War, well, they go after it again because King Louis got his grandson to become King of Spain, and the only thing that happened here was that, well, the English kicked the French out of Acadia, renamed it Nova Scotia, and, well, this is what we have here, Louisiana. Let's listen to some Cajuns.
Bonjour de la Louisiane. Je viens des fois de mes deux, mais on dit bonjour à tout qui est dans la Louisiane et on va s'amuser et tout ça. Mon nom à moi, c'est Elgin Thibodeau. Et mon garçon est Wayland Thibodeau, il joue la musique en français. Et on est élevé en français, on est élevé dans les bas de Bayou. Et on a appris notre langue avec notre papa et notre mère. Et on n'a pas eu d'école, on a eu un petit peu d'école, on ne pouvait pas parler français à l'école, parce qu'on parle en anglais. On a appris un petit peu d'anglais, mais on parle mieux en français. Et toute ma famille, on parle tout en français.
Même maintenant, chez vous, vous parlez...
C'est vous, on parle français.
Et les petites aussi, vous avez l'apprendre?
Les petites, on parle français, les petites, pour eux, ça peut apprendre un petit peu de français. Il y en a qui le prennent, il y en a qui ne le prennent pas.
Alright, so now we're going to move to the third useless war, the King George's War, also known as the War for Jenkins' Ear. Check this out. The Spanish captured a ship and they cut off the ear of Captain Jenkins. That got back to King George II, and he said we have to declare war against Spain. So a war was declared. Now, we move on from that useless war to the 7-Year War, also called the French and Indian War. This is how the land looked. English had the green area, the 13 colonies. The French had quite a bit more area in North America. And the Spanish, of course, had most of Texas, New Mexico, going all the way up to Colorado. Alright, the war started over an issue in the Ohio River Valley when the French were moving into English territories. Let's take a listen.
Very beginning, colonialism in America meant competition. European countries were eager to gobble up as much land as possible in the New World. Sometimes this competition turned into open warfare, and the French and Indian War is a perfect example of this. Here's a crash course of 5 things about the war to get you up to speed. North America was a big, beautiful place full of endless opportunities, and Great Britain and France each wanted a piece of the action. The British controlled their 13 colonies and were looking to expand west. The French occupied Canada and were looking to expand south. It was inevitable that they'd bump into each other, and that's exactly what happened in the Ohio River Valley, an important trading area with access to the Mississippi River. The French and Indian War marked the debut of 21-year-old George Washington, a lieutenant colonel for the militia in the British colony of Virginia. In 1754, he was ordered to protect a British fort near what is now Pittsburgh. On the way, Washington encountered a French military unit, and the two sides fought in the first battle of the French and Indian War, the Battle of Jumonville Glen. Washington was young, but he was quickly gaining the experience he would need to eventually command the Continental Army. Years of territorial scuffles turned into full-blown declarations of war in 1756. As fighting broke out, the British and French sought allies among the local Native American populations. The French were familiar with many tribes through trade and recruited the Potawatomi, Winnebago, Ojibwa, Mississauga, and the Huron, while the British turned to the Iroquois Confederacy. At first, the French were winning, a lot. They simply had more troops and better supplies than the British Army and drove them back towards the 13 colonies. But the tide turned in 1757 when British Secretary of State William Pitt took control of the war effort. Dreaming of a vast British Empire, he made it his mission to defeat the French in North America, pouring in generous funds to beef up military resources on the ground. The war ended with the French defeat at the Battle of Quebec and the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1763. The British gained control of Canada and all land east of the Mississippi River. It may seem that the British made out well after all was said and done, but there was a catch. You see, William Pitt borrowed heavily to finance the French and Indian War, which left his nation in tons of debt. To make up for it, the British taxed American colonists up the wazoo. Americans didn't particularly appreciate this. Years of protests, rallies, town hall meetings, and petitions would eventually lead to the American Revolution and the creation of the United States. The French and Indian War may not have had the glorious battles or fearless heroes of other great conflicts, but it was one of the most consequential wars in American history. It also opened the eyes of a young military leader to the tyranny of the British, a man who would go on to be the first American president.
Well, the French and Indian War really began when this guy, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia Robert Dinwiddie, became alarmed by the French moving in to Pennsylvania. So he sent a young 21-year-old surveyor who wanted to become a soldier, George Washington, to lead up a force and go after it. Well, here's a picture of young George Washington, and you know, you have to commend him for his bravery and his intention. Well, he took a letter from Governor Dinwiddie to the French commander, who laughed at him and told him to leave. Well, George Washington, upon leaving, got into another scuffle, and it ended up where he lost. And that caused Governor Dinwiddie to be a little bit concerned with what the French were doing. So, Dinwiddie asked for English reinforcements, and it came from General Edward Braddock. He invited Washington to come along to show him how the English win. Well, Braddock wasn't quite ready to face what was ahead. So as you can see, the English were not ready for the Indian guerrilla warfare. They needed a new tactic, and that tactic came from this man, Prime Minister William Pitt. Pitt authorized more money, ships, ammunition to be sent to the British forces in America. He encouraged the regulars and colonial forces to work together. King Louis back in France became weak and not interested anymore with what was going on in the New World. The last large major battle was the Battle of Quebec, and that is what finally sealed the deal. The map on the left shows how everything looked before the war, and the map on the right shows that the English dominated and took over North America. But this set the stage for what was to come next.